I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where we break down all the goals scored in the Premier League. And today we're doing Nottingham Forest absolutely thrashing Brighton. There's a couple of there's lots of things I'm going to talk about here, but you're going to see as I show you each goal that Nottingham Forest were doing similar sort of things each time, and Brighton just weren't dealing with any of it. Now, this first movement here is just it's an own goal, but we're going to come on to the actual build-up play from Forest here. Just want you to watch this ball in, right? As you're playing this ball in, you can see that you've got the 4 and the 1 in the middle. And if any of you watch my coaching session about me doing warm-ups and rondos, you can see that this is going to get worse in the Premier League because this is what they're training to do. So when the ball comes in, watch. There's zero pressure on the ball, right? Absolutely none. He is coming in. Well, great. He stood there watching. This is all just a massive problem. You've got so many people around and no one is actually close enough to actually tackle, pressure, win the ball. That means they've got a fundamental, something wrong in their system, their style of play, and more importantly, the idea of recognizing when to go to the ball and when not to go to the ball, how to pressure it. I mean, it's so many things wrong with this one little play here. And the reason why I'm going to showing you this is because some of the goals scored are going to build off this. There's a lot of things from this first goal, even though it's an own goal. I'm going to show you Chris Wood's run and what he does on the outside and why he's always behind 2 defenders and they never mark him in every single goal he scores. So that's why we're talking on here of the absolute thrashing here. But when he nicks in and tries to do a little play, this is shocking. A back heel into the middle of the field. All right. But there's still 1, 2, 3 players, but 1 Forest player wins it. Yeah. I mean, that's just determination and who wants to win the football or not. Look, they just still stood there watching as it bounces into him. There's no reaction. There's no movement. What do you mean, Cash? It's really slow. No, you can't. You can freeze any frame and make... No. When that ball has travelled from here, he's got time to react, and he doesn't. He just stands there. It's just terrible. But also, that opens up this gap for the pass. That can happen on transition. We're not so worried. We are worried, but that happens in football. But I want you to notice this. Watch 1, 2, and then watch Chris Wood here, right? Because this is going to happen. I'm going to point this out on almost every single goal. So now we've got the ball out wide. And one of the most important things when you've got the ball out wide is not to play like Man City, is to whip the ball in. Why? Because you have defenders running towards their own goal, as well as your striker. And if anybody touches it, you get yourself a goal. Defender, striker, it doesn't matter. But the ball has to be in early and with pace. If it's not at pace and it's not early, you're not going to get that ricochet or that bounce or any of that sort of deflection from the other team. Now, of course, as we've moved it on, you can see he's trying to find Chris Wood right here. He's fighting away. He's going to fizz that ball across. Bush, as he does, deflection, in it goes. Obviously, it's because the defender's facing his own goal. But that's the importance of not trying to recycle the ball or try to have another pass. Just attack the box when you have the opportunity and try to whip in a cross. Now, Chris Wood, he's not the best striker in the Premier League. He's not the worst striker in the Premier League. If you said bang average, you'd probably, he's bang average. But if you keep serving him crosses into the box, he'll get goals. So what do you think the problem is? The striker or the service? Well, it's the service. If you just keep trying to give him opportunities, he scores goals, which is fantastic. Let's move it on. Here we go. We can see corner routine. It's interesting as well. It's like I used to have a coach. He still coaches at the national level, under 21s for a certain country. And he used to swear blind. Basically, one of the only things he'd ever teach is corners. He said, because if we score 3 out of our 4 corners, other way around. If out of 3 corners he scores 1, he's happy because he's going to get goals every game. And it's very important to have yourself great delivery and a good corner routine. And you can see right here, you've got the 2 people running for the front post. So it all comes down to the delivery. Does it actually target the runners or is it just a bad corner? And also, you must have heard it a million times about, the corner doesn't beat the first defender. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because the first defender would be about there. So if you are going to come in and do this job, you make sure you do it on the line. So you do that annoying thing, which every fan complains about. The corner doesn't even beat the first defender. Well, the first defender's got to be in a position where he's cutting out the line. Why the line, Cash, you ask? Because that way he can come forward, right? He doesn't have to worry about what's behind him. If he comes up a little bit further, he's got about 2 directions he's got to worry about. Here He's only got one direction to worry about. That's why you go back on towards the line. That's why you go back onto the line back here. It's because you've only got to worry about coming forward, not going backwards and forwards. When this goes in as well, I think their keeper's shocking, right? I really do. I think he goes down way, way too quickly here. Watch this. Comes in. They were looking for that spot. He's completely taken out of the equation because he's not on the line. He's not actually trying to cut out a space and then attack down the field. So if he's here, he can run and attack down the field. He can't. He's just caught in no man's land. Easy to get past him with the delivery. Keeper goes, I mean, it's right at his face. It just seems like he just goes down too easy to me. When you're a keeper, you love to, balls right. That's what you're a goalkeeper. You're crazy. You like it here. And for some reason, he doesn't, and he goes down way, way too easy. But let's move on because we got lots of goals to discuss. Have a look at this situation again before the cross comes in. 1, 2, and look what we've got again, right? We're going to watch that. But there's also this problem in football, which, well, there's billions, but I keep harping on about certain ones. When you're a 2v1 in this situation here, the problem you've got is your systems and your lines are broke. So the normal rules of what you want to do kind of go out the window. So when that happens is the first most important thing is to keep pressure on the football, right? Because if you've got pressure on the ball, that gives you time for all your other players to get back. And there is also this effect that happens. You see it in anything, by the way. Go shopping and run down a shop. Get 3 or 4 people to start running in a shop direction. People will run. Or my favourite one, if stand there and look up. And people will come past and look up, right, for no reason. People copy people. So if you run in a game of football, your teammates copy you. So why this is important is if we move this forward here, right, boom, there we go, right here. This is important. We've got 1, 2. That is a 2, by the way. 3, 4. It's kind of like the same situation we had earlier. When we had 4 players and the ball, and there's no pressure on the ball. We had that just over here a minute ago. Do you remember that? The flaw in their system. Okay. Right now, he has to sprint out and come and close this ball down. Not get ridiculously close, but start putting pressure on, hoping that one of these other 2 people cover for his space. Okay. He has to do it. Why? Because he's the one in front of the ball. He can see it. He's on the wrong side. So's he. And he's nowhere near him. But he can come in and cover for me. So if I'm starting to run, hopefully you're going to make him run. All right? He's going to see that you're running to pressure the ball and he needs to cover your space. Instead, what happens is, silly challenge, which he's never make because he's on the wrong side of him. He's not in a position where he can actually tackle or try to win the ball. Just gets skipped past simply. Keep looking back here, important. In no man's land. And this is the importance of why he needed to pressure early, because the system was broken and the shape was broken. So he has to come and pressure the ball early. Instead, he just stands there. What does he end up doing? Just standing there. So no one does anything. That's what it really comes down to. As he gets off for the cross, he still doesn't do anything. He's not close enough. What have you done? He hasn't covered anyone. There's no player here for him to come in and cover. Why are you in this space? But he could have, if he had come and pressured the ball, he could have come in and covered the space for him over here. And on the back stick, completely unmarked. Simple header. Yeah. I mean, when you look at that, you're going to see there's some massive errors when you've got that many players right there. The ball's over here with no pressure on the ball. And the goal scorer's over here going past all of these players. Tell me they're not playing a system and they forgot how to play football. Oh, yes, that's right. They are playing a system and no one plays football anymore. I know this is, I'm not going to show you the whole clip. I just want to talk about Chris Wood here holding up the ball, holding up the play. I know he doesn't here and he ends up losing it. But he's actually, the reason he loses it is because he doesn't do the easy thing and lay the ball back. He's getting more and more confidence as the season's going and he tries to beat 2 players. If he just did what he's been doing all season, laid the ball back, he would have played it in and they would have been in for another one. I am a bit there. Like I'm not biased on teams or anybody. There are players I do like and there are players I don't like. I do have to say I do like Gibbs White. I liked him back when he was in Arsenal ages ago. So yeah, you have to be a little bit of a disclaimer there. But let's just keep moving forward. It's like it's the same scenario and it's the same broken record. 1, 2, that's a 2. Oh wait, that's a 3. 4 players, 1 player unmarked. Like, think about that for a second. This is professional football at the highest level, and you've got a player who can see a player that he needs to mark, and he runs off behind him because he's playing as a no. I am the right centre back, and I don't go past the penalty spot because this is my zone. Oh, that's a bad draw. That's the centre line, and I play over here. I don't play over here. This is how bad football is. These two are just jockeying, running around down the side, not making a challenge. Just like the last goal, where Chris Woodinho headed it in. Everything is exactly the same. They get past, no challenge. There's the run. He's not close enough. Again, the centre-backs, there's one player, two of them aren't marking him. It's not a shock. You should be identifying this in the first 5 minutes of the game going, oh, hold on. He's losing our guys. You just sit on him and you just cover from behind. So one of your defenders sits on him and the other one covering behind. Unless you actually coach them properly and they can trade the player off, which is much, it's the better way to do it. But unless they're cohesive playing together week in, week out, they won't be good enough to pass the player off. Long story on that one. Simple ball across the middle. He gets a tap in. As I say, he's not the best striker in the world, but you keep putting balls across the 6-yard box and not marking him, he's going to score every single day. Good job, lad. Let's move forward. I am so happy. It's not because it's Gibbs White. I am so happy that this is given as a penalty. When you wrap your arms around a player in the penalty box at any point, I'm telling you, if I was refereeing or head of the referees in the Premier League, this would never happen. Because on the first week, I'd mandate anyone who does that, you give a yellow card to. If they wrap, remember, I'm saying both arms. Like, yeah, okay, if you're, joshing and you've got one and you're doing that, fine. But if you've got both arms wrapped around that player, you've no intentions of playing that football whatsoever. Oh, funny story. So when I played, lots of people know me from lots of different places all over the world where I coached and played and done whatever. I can't remember live for me. I was playing against this goalkeeper. They all knew me. Whatever team knew me. The other goalkeeper did this exact thing to me. He wrapped his arms around me. It's one of my only red cards I've ever got. And he fell over with me on top of him. Does that make sense? So this would have been me, and that would have been the goalkeeper. Fell over, bumped like that, and then shouted to the referee. The referee looked, and I was on top of the goalkeeper, and the referee sent me off. I was like, what? What are you joking, ref? Yeah, everyone was laughing. I was laughing. It was funny. We won the game. But I had to go to a disciplinary for a red card. And no, actually, I didn't go. Somebody else went for me because, that's a different story altogether. But they should be given every day in the Premier League, and people will actually start to play the game a bit better, I think. Wood stepping up, taking a penalty, calm as you like. Yeah, well done, young man. Well done. Let's keep it going. Move it forward with the tricky trees. This is where it all breaks down. Brighton trying to pass the ball back. Two people pressuring. Gets a little nick on the ball. And away Nottingham Forest go again. Now, I also want you to notice another wee player right here. Nico Williams. I think he's a Welsh boy from the Valleys. Is that right? I can't remember. I think so. But there is desire here, and there's a couple of major things where you can spot confidence in other teams and seeing whether or not they're doing well with their confidence or they're not, right? And you're going to see that Brighton are not doing well with their confidence. And I don't know where this has come from as well. It's only a sort of I only ever see it in like teams near the bottom of the table or just teams that are always conceding. But this is just awful as this goes forward. Okay, off we go from the little break, coming down, trying to get a shot off. Keeper makes a decent save. It's not the greatest shot. But this is where it all goes a bit Pete Tong. Now, you're a defender. Your keeper's just saved the ball. What do you want to do? Number one, get pressure on the ball. Number two, win the ball. Number three, clear the ball. That's what you want to try to do. So as we watch this, number one, there's no real pressure on the ball. They can't get there. You've got 1-2 players here that need to be starting to run towards the football. But instead, they run towards the line, which is kind of strange. I can understand maybe one doing it because the keeper's not there, but it's a difficult ball. It's a bouncing ball, right? So he can't just smack it into the goal straight away. He's got to try to control it, which gives you that little split to try to get there. Okay. So as it goes, boom, that's where it gets messy. But now I've got 1, 2, 3 players almost on the line, and no one has gone towards the ball. If one of these two guys, again, I think it's the thing at Brighton where we don't pressure the football because we've seen that in the other goals. If one of them pressures the ball here, he doesn't get himself a goal. They're in front of him. And he just Bosh knocks it in. Look, he's almost there. He's there at the point where he kicks it. But if he was there as soon as the first melee happened and was bundled over, he would have just cleared the ball. It's awful. In the Premier League now, it's like the football is not a thing that anyone wants to run towards or go towards at any point. As long as my shape is okay, we're all good. Yeah, they just don't really play football properly anymore. But let's move it on to the last goal. Well, I think it's the last goal. Okay, so this is another just poor goal from Brighton. And yeah, what is he, 6-0 down? You might not care. But if you're a good coach, you care, because what you're ending up doing is teaching bad habits to your team, and your team isn't understanding certain things. So if you're a goalkeeper and you see 1, 2 players pressuring and a third on the outside and the ball's coming back, you put the ball over them, even if it's over into that space there, so this guy can turn and run onto him. You do not try to pass the ball along the ground and do this. As it comes in, look, they've already read the situation. Can you see how they've just already started to curve their run? Do you see that? He already knows where the ball's going and the pass is going. So that's one of the major things. One of the first things I always try to teach any team I take over is about body shape and body position, and how your shoulders dictate where you're kicking the ball. And you can learn very, very quickly, as long as your shoulders and your hips and your knees are facing that way, the ball goes that way. The moment you start trying to do little scuff passes, when you're facing this way and you're passing it that way, it's when you make all sorts of silly mistakes. If you're going to be a good player, you do the basics really, really well. And then later on, you can do the tricks and flicks. But this is terrible. Passes it straight down the middle. And what do you think is going to happen after that, keeper? And as well, the keeper's not in a good position to really recover when he takes a shot, drives it into the net box. Yeah. Forest do great. I hope they keep this up for the rest of the season, as you well know. And because I want to see him in Champions League. I do. But we'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.